In the heart of the ancient savanna, where golden grasses swayed like an ocean beneath the African sun, lived a young lion named Kari. Unlike the other lions in his pride, Kari had never roared. His mane was full and rich, the color of burnished copper in the sunset, but his voice remained soft, almost a whisper among the thunderous calls of his brothers. Each morning, as dawn painted the horizon in strokes of amber and rose, Kari would watch from a distance as the other males claimed their territory with voices that rolled across the plains like summer storms. Their confidence seemed as natural to them as breathing, while doubt clung to Kari like a shadow that wouldn't fade, even in the brightest light. "Perhaps I'm not meant to be a lion at all," he would think, his amber eyes downcast as he padded silently through the tall grass, careful not to draw attention to himself. The elders of the pride had begun to notice. They would exchange glances when Kari approached, their eyes holding a mixture of concern and disappointment. A lion who couldn't roar was like a bird that refused to fly. Something essential was missing. One particularly harsh dry season, when the heat shimmered above the cracked earth and even the most resilient acacia trees drooped their branches in surrender, the pride faced a new threat. A rival group of lions had begun encroaching on their territory, drawn by the promise of the small watering hole that still remained. "We must stand together," declared Jabari, the pride leader, his voice carrying across the gathering of lions. "Each of us must be ready to defend what is ours." Kari felt his heart sink to his paws. How could he defend anything when he couldn't even find his voice? That night, as the others prepared themselves with practice roars that echoed against the distant hills, Kari slipped away, a solitary figure moving like a copper shadow through the moonlit savanna. He walked for hours, his head heavy with thoughts of inadequacy. If you've ever felt like you're not enough, write the word strength in the comments below, and remember this moment in Kari's journey. He seemed to whisper to the stars above. Just before dawn, exhausted and thirsty, Kari came upon a small pool, hidden among a circle of ancient baobab trees. Their massive trunks, twisted and gnarled with age, created a sanctuary of stillness. The water was clear as crystal, untouched by the drought that plagued the rest of the land. As Kari bent to drink, he caught sight of his reflection in the still water. But something was strange. The lion looking back at him seemed stronger, more majestic than he had ever felt. The reflection's eyes held a fire he had never recognized in himself. "Are you seeing what I'm seeing, young lion?" came a voice, deep and melodious like the earth itself. Startled, Kari looked up to see an ancient tortoise at the edge of the pool. His shell was marked with patterns that resembled the stars above, and his eyes held the quiet wisdom of centuries. I don't understand," Kari replied, his voice barely audible even in the perfect silence of the grove. The tortoise moved with deliberate slowness to Kari's side. "Look again," he said, gesturing to the water with his weathered head. "The water of this pool shows not what you are, but what you could be, what you already are, beneath the doubt." Kari looked again. The lion in the reflection seemed to straighten, its mane catching the first light of dawn and glowing like fire. "I have lived for 300 seasons," the tortoise continued, "and in all that time I have seen many creatures doubt the power that sleeps within them, but none so strange as a lion who has forgotten how to roar." Kari felt shame burn through him. "I've tried," he admitted, "but nothing comes out. Not like the others." The tortoise's ancient eyes held no judgment. "The roar is already inside you, young lion. It was born with you, but you've spent so long listening to the roars of others. You've forgotten to listen to your own inner voice." "How do I find it?" Kari asked, a new urgency in his whispered words. "First," said the tortoise, "you must stand in your own truth. Place your paws firmly on the earth that made you." Kari straightened his posture, feeling the warm soil beneath his paws. He pressed down, feeling a strange connection travel up through his legs and into his core. "Now," the tortoise continued, "close your eyes and breathe deeply. Not the shallow breaths of fear, but the full breaths of life. Feel the air fill not just your lungs, but your entire being." Kari closed his eyes, drawing in air until his chest expanded fully. He could feel his heartbeat, strong and steady, matching some ancient rhythm in the earth below. "Listen," said the tortoise, "not with your ears, but with your body. There is a vibration within you that has always been there, waiting. It's the same force that moves the stars and grows the baobab trees. It is in everything, including you." Kari focused inward, past the sounds of the awakening savanna, past the whispers of self-doubt that had been his constant companions. Deep within, he felt something stir, a vibration, just as the tortoise had described. "That feeling," the tortoise said, as if reading his thoughts, "is your true nature. Now, instead of pushing your voice out, let that vibration rise. Don't force it. Allow it." Kari stood at the edge of the pool, his reflection watching him with expectant eyes. He let the vibration he felt grow stronger, rising from the soles of his paws, through his powerful legs, into his chest. It continued to build, like the gathering storm clouds on the horizon. "Trust it," the tortoise encouraged. "Trust yourself, shadow through the moonlit savanna." And in that moment, something shifted inside Kari. The doubt that had wrapped around his heart for so long began to loosen its grip. He felt the vibration reach his throat, and instead of tightening against it as he had always done before, he surrendered to it. The sound that emerged from Kari began as a low rumble, like distant thunder. But it quickly grew, expanding until it filled the grove of baobab trees, causing ripples to dance across the surface of the pool. It was a roar that carried not just sound, but the essence of who he truly was, powerful, majestic, and unafraid. When the echo of his roar finally faded, Kari opened his eyes, breathing heavily with the exhilaration of discovery. "That," said the tortoise with a slow smile, "is the voice you've always had." "But how did you know it was there?" Kari asked, his voice now rich and full even in normal speech. "Because," the tortoise replied, "I have learned to see beyond appearances to the truth beneath. The technique I taught you, standing in your truth, breathing deeply, and allowing rather than forcing, this is how any creature finds their authentic power. It was never about learning something new, but remembering something ancient." For 3 days and nights, Kari remained by the pool with the tortoise, practicing this new way of being. Each roar became more natural, more truly his own. He wasn't trying to sound like Jabari or any of the other lions. He was discovering his unique voice, one that carried both power and a strange, compelling gentleness. "It is time for you to return," the tortoise finally said on the morning of the 4th day. "Your pride needs the lion you have always been meant to be." Kari dipped his head in gratitude. "I will never forget what you've shown me." "Remember," the tortoise said, "the technique is simple but must be practiced. Stand in your truth. Breathe fully. Allow your power to rise naturally. And most importantly, trust the reflection of your true self, not the distorted image created by doubt." With a newfound confidence flowing through him like sunlight, Kari began the journey back to his pride. As he traveled, he practiced his roar, not with desperation as before, but with the joy of self-discovery. Birds took flight at the sound, and smaller creatures paused in respectful acknowledgement. When Kari crested the final hill overlooking his pride's territory, he saw a confrontation already in progress. The rival lions had returned in greater numbers, and his family was backed against the rocky outcropping that had been their home for generations. Without hesitation, Kari bounded down the slope, his powerful legs carrying him swiftly across the savanna. As he approached, he planted his paws firmly on the ground, took a deep breath that filled his entire being, and allowed his true voice to emerge. The roar that exploded from Kari's chest was unlike any that had been heard in those lands before. It carried across the plains with such force that the rival lions froze in their tracks. It was not just loud, it contained something else, an absolute certainty, a perfect expression of his lion nature that could not be challenged. His pride turned in astonishment, watching as Kari strode forward, his copper mane catching the sunlight like a crown of fire. The doubt that had once clouded his eyes was gone, replaced by a calm, unwavering confidence. The leader of the rival pride, a battle-scarred lion with a black mane, assessed Kari with new respect. There was something in this young lion's presence that gave him pause, not just physical strength, but a certainty of purpose that was rare and commanding. "This territory is protected," Kari stated, his voice now as steady and powerful as his stance. "There is water enough to the east for all. There is no need for blood between us." Perhaps it was the authority in Kari's voice, or perhaps it was the unexpected offer of a solution rather than mere threat. But after a tense moment, the rival leader nodded once. With a flick of his tail, he signaled his pride to retreat, leading them eastward as Kari had suggested. Jabari approached Kari, disbelief and admiration mingling in his expression. "You found your roar," he said simply. "I found more than that," Kari replied. "I found that what I was searching for was always within me. I just needed to trust it." In the seasons that followed, Kari became known throughout the savanna not just for his magnificent roar, but for his wisdom. Young lions who struggled with their own doubts would seek him out, and he would lead them to still waters where they could see their true reflections. "Stand in your truth," he would tell them, echoing the words of his tortoise mentor. "Breathe deeply. Allow your power to rise naturally. And most importantly, trust the reflection of your true self, not the distorted image created by doubt." And as the sun set over the savanna, painting the landscape in hues of gold and amber that matched Kari's mane, he would often gaze at his reflection in the watering hole and see not just himself, but the ancient tortoise's wisdom reflected back at him. A reminder that confidence is not something to be acquired, but something to be awakened from within. Remember this, dear listener. The confidence you seek is not found in the approval of others or in perfect circumstances. It already exists within you, waiting only for you to recognize it in your own reflection. Stand in your truth, breathe deeply, and allow your authentic power to emerge naturally. For you were never meant to be small. If this story awakened something within you, subscribe to Storybox Sage and share it with someone whose light needs rekindling. Sometimes we all need a reminder of the strength that already lives inside us.